Hello and welcome to the Holly Doss Show. This is your host, Holly Doss. I'm actually on a mission to help as many of you as possible get in touch with your higher selves, break free from ego identities, raise your frequencies, and become the best version of yourself. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back and welcome to my show. If this is your first time joining me, this is a show about mindset because I believe that training your mind each week will help you. It will help you to perfect the art of letting go of people, places, things, situations that are no longer serving you. It will help you to overcome limiting beliefs that are keeping you from going after your dreams or achieving your highest purposes. Mindset training also helps you to raise your frequency, and you must have that if you want to be able to shift your level of consciousness so that your soul can advance to new heights. You know, just by recognizing patterns and behaviors within yourself that need work, you are already a step ahead in advancing your soul. And so this show was designed with the intention of providing you each week with that knowledge through inspirational stories, through my own lessons, through my clients' lessons, and all of them are designed to help you reach a place of being untouched. And what I mean by that is untouched by people's points of view, by what others think of you, by what you've told yourself you can and can't do, or who you are, even untouched by worldly news, so that you are fully anchored in awareness. Because I believe that is the point of our existence. The point of our existence is to learn and to grow and to get to a place of awareness, of being untouched. But to get there, we have to have the right mindset. We have to do the work necessary to separate from the stories we tell ourselves. We sometimes have to separate from friends who gossip or create drama. We have to keep a check on our egos, titles, roles, possessions, all of those things that are just mere distractions from self-awareness. So if you are joining me for the first time today, I welcome you. And I encourage you to subscribe so that each week you can look at the title or listen to the first few minutes and see if that week's mindset lesson may or may not apply to you. And if it doesn't, just skip it because you never know if you might want to refer back to it later. And my hope is that you will recognize that our souls always align with the teacher or the knowledge when lessons are ready to be met head on. So it is in that space that I begin the lesson for this week, which is all about fear. And when fear keeps you from honoring your intuition or honoring your higher self in a relationship, because we all know that intuition is our own built-in navigation system that God placed within us so that He could whisper the direction that we're supposed to take. And relationships are best learned from when we follow those whispers. So to go against a whisper is to choose avoidance over a path to advance your soul. So let me give you an example. Right now, I have a client. His name is Cameron. He recently ignored his intuition and married someone that he did not love. His reason for this is to avoid being alone. Now, Cameron had a rough childhood, but on the outside, he seemed to manage just fine as an adult. He achieved a lot of success fairly early in his career. He really accumulated a lot of wealth for being a young entrepreneur. He had plenty of friends and hobbies. He seemed to be really enjoying life. But relationship-wise, he often would stay in them too long or only left when someone else was waiting in the wings. And on the outside, I would just go, why is he like that? You know, he had the resources to deal with his issues, but he just refused to go there. He not only refused to go there, he ignored all of the whispers during his engagement to his current wife. They had nothing in common. He felt and heard that she really had a lot of ulterior motives regarding his financial status. She also had some controlling and manipulative behaviors that really bothered him, and it was causing problems between Cameron and his family and his friends. And he was starting to lose people and was starting to become somewhat isolated from people. And this was just during their engagement. But again, he didn't want to be alone. And this was kind of the first relationship that he thought, well, I could probably make this work. So he ignores the whispers. He pretty much betrayed his soul's chance to advance by doing that, all because of the fear of being alone and facing some things and facing himself. Now, here he is, miserably married to someone equally as miserable. He wants a divorce, but he still will not file. And the reason why? He doesn't want to be alone. So he asked me for my thoughts and for my coaching. And I have to be honest, at first, I just thought he needs a lot of therapy too. I mean, there's only so much mindset work you can do if you're not willing to really go there and dig deep with some things. So I said to him, do you feel like we could work with a therapist also? And we could really help you make some drastic changes in your life. I feel like we could fast forward this. And so he said, okay. And we set up our first session. Now, here is how the first session went. I asked him, I said, Cameron, let me see if I've got this right so far. You didn't want to face loneliness, so you thought committing to a marriage would keep you from that place. He says, yes, that's correct. Okay, what does loneliness look like for you? I just don't like how I feel. Okay, well, is there something you're afraid to take a look at or to speak about out loud? And there was kind of a lump in his throat. I could just tell it was rising. And he looked down, but he nodded yes. So I said, okay, so instead of seeking help in uncovering some of these wounds and treating your wounds, you sought a Band-Aid. And he kind of laughed, but he said, yes, that's correct. So I said, okay, well, while you were engaged, did anyone close to you present concerns about your state of being and at the pace you were moving in this relationship? And he said, yes, everyone close to me. And I said, Cameron, why did you ignore them? And he said, because I thought I was doing the right thing. And I said, okay, but do you feel like you made the right choice? You thought you were doing the right thing, but do you feel like you made the right choice? And he didn't respond. He just looked down, but he nodded yes. And I said, well, I believe that all relationships are here to teach us something. Not all relationships, though, are meant to last forever. Sometimes the lesson is learned quickly and the relationship no longer serves a purpose, and that's when it's time to move on. Others are meant to be longer because there's a deep love and compatibility within the relationship, and the partners can grow together. If everything you're telling me is correct, then you likely got these whispers that it was time to face some things about yourself, and that was the lesson early in this relationship. It served its purpose for you to take a look at some things, but you didn't do that. And when you didn't notice that lesson, your friends and your family became concerned. Now here you are, suffering the consequences of taking a wrong turn, and it's time to move on. Because you can no longer allow yourself to stay stuck in a marriage, in a friendship, anything that was never meant to be in the first place. It had its purpose, and then you stayed and stayed and stayed. Okay, so you've got to get your self-worth in check and stop accepting the belief that what you're in is better than being alone. Because Cameron, what you're in is a marriage to someone who equally does not love you. Are we clear about that? And he said yes. So I kept pushing. I said, you are in a legal contract with someone who saw nothing but dollar signs and was willing to ignore her own whispers and her own self-worth to position herself into a different tax bracket that would offer her a lifestyle that doesn't include you. You're married to someone who is blatantly disrespectful to you, your family, your friends, and has manipulated you into believing the worst about them. And you've allowed all of that to happen. And why? To avoid being alone, which also means avoid facing some things you don't want to face. And I said, so Cameron, we have got some work to do. And he agreed. So we got to work. First on his self-worth, then on his boundaries, and finally an exit strategy for his marriage. But before we go any further, let's take a short break and hear from our sponsor. I am absolutely obsessed with Baby Mama vitamins and supplements. If you have never heard of them, then you have got to check them out. Baby Mama was created by a mom who had a lot of uncomfortable and frustrating symptoms after pregnancy. And the vitamins are made to treat the nutritional deficiencies caused by these hormonal disruptions, such as pregnancy, menopause. It can be anything like surgery, sickness, even COVID, anything that disrupts your hormones. So I take their Hair Repair Max for faster hair growth. I also take their Praise Bee vegan superfood for energy. And on days that I have water retention or bloating, I take their amazing supplement called Ripped. Another thing that is so great about Baby Mama is that they've got an online quiz that will help you determine which products are right for your specific condition. So you can go on this quiz and enter all of your symptoms, and it will send you a page that is personalized just for you. So right now, for the amazing Holly Doss listeners, you can get 15% off of your entire order by entering the gift code HOLLY15. So go to babymama.online and enter the gift code HOLLY15 at checkout to get 15% off your entire order. You will not be sorry. Thanks, Baby Mama. So we got to work. First on his self-worth, then on his boundaries, and finally an exit strategy for his marriage. And why did I go about it this way? Because the root of his not wanting to be alone was really about his not wanting to address some lifelong pain he had been carrying with him since childhood. It had nothing to do with being alone. It was being alone with those thoughts. And childhood is where our self-worth is created. Our childhood experiences, traumas, peers, home life, they all contribute to how we end up feeling about ourselves in adulthood. So his self-worth had little to no existence when I entered the picture. As it turned out, Cameron admitted to having an abusive, alcoholic father who was very critical of him. He never gave him any praise. Feelings were never really acknowledged or allowed. He was just very, very militant. So his foundation was built on anxious surroundings. And the pain that was endured was just simply too much for Cameron to handle. You know, low self-worth often leads to a lack of healthy boundaries. So I sat him down at our second session and I said, let's outline where your boundaries are. Where are your boundaries lacking? And we worked through his fears of setting boundaries and the backlash that often occurs when you do set them. And that did take a lot of coaching because fear had controlled how he dealt with everyone. Fear of not appearing a certain way, fear of someone not liking him. All of that was about to be at stake if he set boundaries. So by our third session, we decided to go ahead and start at least creating an exit strategy. so that he could move on from this relationship. And I did that for two reasons. One, because the marriage was clearly over before it started. It was never meant to result in marriage. And two, was that he saw divorce as failure. And he needed to unsubscribe from that belief very quickly. He needed to get over that and accept a new way of being, a new way of thinking, a new way of framing, that when a relationship finishes serving its purpose, it is over. And he had to accept that in order for us to continue our work. It was not an easy fix, but I continued to remind him that he often expressed how much he missed his family, he missed his friends, and he was very concerned about protecting his wealth. And he was really feeling taken advantage of. Now, does the presence of fear in a decision mean that you will make the wrong choice in a relationship? No, everyone has fear. But how you respond to that fear, that's what matters. If you listen to your intuition, if you get clear on your self-worth, your boundaries, and hold yourself accountable to your soul's plan, then you're going to be in a position to hear and follow the whispers that are guiding you to the next level. And if you can't hear the whispers, then you've got way too many distractions in your life. Because no one is going to protect you and guide you like God and your higher self will. No amount of avoiding a lesson or a refusal to face a fear will ever be worth it in the end. Now, does that mean that if you have gotten on the wrong bus, that it has to end immediately? No, not necessarily. But I do believe if you begin the process of checking your self-worth, of rebuilding it, of checking your boundaries, and of creating an action plan, you will inevitably arrive at a split. And you will be in more of a position to accept that it is time to move on. So friends, if you get nothing else from this episode, please hear me on this. What you expect from others and what you will allow into your life must have a standard. It's got to, or you're going to waste so much time on the wrong path. Get clear on your childhood. Don't be afraid. Get clear on your pain. Get clear on your limited thoughts. All of it is contained between your ears. And this day and age, there are plenty of resources available to help you. Put your egos aside. Quit worrying about what it's going to look like, because no one gives a shit. Your ego is the only entity keeping score of that kind of bullshit. Quit labeling yourself as this is going to mean I quit or this is going to mean I have failed. No, it means that you are advancing your soul because you paid attention. You got the lesson and moved on, and you were able to let go of a situation, of a person, of a thing that no longer served you. It is crucial that you get this, not just in romantic relationships, but in friendships, in work environments. Your self-worth and your boundaries are there to protect you. Use them. It's got to be a priority. So I am going to end on that today. But please know, I'm talking to you. You deserve to love yourself and to be loved and to be with someone who equally respects you. Thank you so much for listening to the Holly Doss Show today. I truly hope that you walk away with a fresh perspective on self-worth and its importance, because whenever you are in question, know and remember that you have the power to make intuitive decisions that come from that deep place of knowing. We all have built-in navigation systems of our souls that guide us to our higher good, and if we're just willing to listen closely, it will never steer us wrong. Have a wonderful week. Love you guys.